Hey, it's the Nerdy Sports Fan. Now, we're continuing our series regrading the 2017 draft. We're getting into fantasy football next week, though, so keep it dialed here if you're interested in that. Into the AFC West, actually wrapping up the AFC West with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, don't gloat so much, Chiefs fans. I know you just won the Super Bowl. You've got a recent league MVP quarterback, and this draft had a lot to do with it. So, in round one, the Chiefs trade up with the Buffalo Bills. They trade up 17 spots from number 27 up to number 10. They do this by giving away multiple draft picks this year and a fourth round draft pick the next year. And they did it to get Patrick Mahomes. The only way a move that far up the draft board is really warranted is if you're going after your quarterback. Now, Mahomes was a polarizing pre-draft figure. A lot of people saw his potential, but nobody thought that he was going to be day one plug and play kind of guy. All right. He wasn't the top quarterback prospect that year. Deshaun Watson was, and even now, looking at Deshaun Watson versus Patrick Mahomes, you can kind of understand it. Deshaun Watson doesn't have Andy Reid. Okay? If he did, he might have a different career arc right now. But neither here nor there. A top 10 pick, quarterback, it better work. And this one did. All right? The Bills needed a quarterback at the time too, which is why, as a Bills fan, I'm pissed off about this trade every time I think about it. But they decided to go with the next year's quarterback draft class because Josh Allen just worked better in their mind, I guess. But anyways, Patrick Mahomes, coming out of Texas Tech, was viewed as a system guy who had a lot of raw talent, and nobody necessarily knew how good his brain worked for offense, and nobody necessarily knew how amazing he would be at the unscripted part of the league. So, yes, you have a play call, you have a progression, you have a way that things are supposed to work, but the defense gets paid money too for a reason. So, they're trying to put you off of that, and they're very highly successful. Highly successful at taking away what you want to do. So at least half the plays in football end up being unscripted situations, things that you didn't necessarily prepare for, that you just have to figure something out. And that part of the game, Pat Mahomes is probably the best in the league right now. He's very, very reminiscent of Brett Favre back in the day, of just, yeah, let's figure something out here and sling it around. But he's more accurate than Favre was. So it's scary. Really scary. Nobody in the league can defend the perfect pass. And the perfect pass comes out of Patrick Mahomes a lot. This guy, now just a few years later, is a Super Bowl champion and a former league MVP. So you can say nothing bad about this pick. Andy Reid was the only person who knew that you had to make that level of investment in this guy. In spite of having Alex Smith, who had brought the team to the playoffs and was a solid player, they wanted their guy, and they got him. All right, so in round two, pick number 27, Tano Pasagnon? I don't know how to pronounce that with the K in front of it. Either way, the defensive end out of Villanova is a solid rotational player in this defensive line. He's not a stud, which is why they ended up having to trade for Frank Clark. But yeah, he's still usable. So that says something, right? Defensive line is pretty much always a rotation these days. All of the most successful defensive line operations have a coordinator that's constantly rotating in and out the defensive linemen to keep them fresh, because they're going up against mammoth human beings on the offensive line that usually outweigh them, that they have to try and force their way past. So you want them to be as fresh as possible. So having a guy that can be in any sort of role in that rotation is a benefit. All right, now Kareem Hunt was the third round draft pick, and we all know what happened with Kareem Hunt later on, but I'm not really necessarily sure I want to hold this against Kansas City, what he did later on, because there was no real pre-draft like, hey, this guy might abuse women in a hotel. It wasn't there, okay? He ended up being the best player on the damn team. Even, I mean, you can make an argument that he was more important to the Chiefs than Patrick Mahomes in Patrick Mahomes' MVP season. He just, a running back that dynamic in Andy Reid's offense is extremely important. And he hadn't had a weapon in the backfield that drew that much water in the offense since Brian Westbrook back in Philadelphia. So, yeah, extremely, extremely important player to the offense. And kudos to the Chiefs to cut ties with that motherfucker immediately when the video from that hotel in Ohio, I want to say, surfaced of him physically assaulting a woman. I don't care why. I really don't. You don't kick a woman in the side or in the head, whatever the heck the angle was, like that. There's no reason for it. Okay? Anyways, he's not on the team anymore, but it's for no fault of the Chiefs. It's entirely him being an asshole. All right, so Genu Chason was the wide receiver out of Michigan that they selected in the fourth round, pick number 33. He's not around anymore. Not a big deal because the Chiefs still have one of the best wide receiving rooms in the league. Ukeme Elijah, fifth round, number 40 linebacker out of Georgia Southern, not in the league anymore. And sixth round, pick number 35, we have Leon McQuay, the third safety out of USC, who's not in the league anymore. So the only ones that really mattered here were Mahomes, Pasagnon, and Hunt. And really, you can't give a draft that includes one of the best running backs in football and the best quarterback in football just a few years later anything other than an A+. You can't. Okay, you got yourself a league MVP that has won you a Super Bowl. And it was a gamble when you went after him. You were right. And that plays a factor too. They went up and got the dude. He didn't fall in their lap. They identified that he was going to be spectacular. They went after him to make sure it happened, that they got him, and they were right. So all of that factoring in, I don't care if the rest of their draft did not end up remaining in the league. A player of that high caliber means a heck of a lot. And to add into that draft, they also selected Kareem Hunt, who, through no fault of yours, is not on the team, but was one of the best, if not the best, running backs in the league at his peak season. Yeah, that's an A+ draft. That's exactly what you want, and that's what Andy Reid does all the goddamn time. Okay, I don't know what special sauce he's, working, but he seems to have a idea of what he wants in a player, and he goes after it quite well in the draft, and he builds his team through the draft extremely well, so they don't end up spending all the ridiculous money in free agency so they can keep winning over a long period of time. Now, we'll see what happens once Patrick Mahomes gets his big boy contract, if they can maintain a very strong team that's competing for Super Bowls. But I think they can. I think Mahomes and Reid together can win a few Super Bowls. And that will start propelling Andy Reid into the discussion of one of the best coaches of all time, which he greatly deserves, truly. Anyways, hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. Check out the other videos because I'm making one of these for every team, and I'm about halfway through the league at this point. And like and subscribe if you enjoy, as always. Thanks for watching.